Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. Today, back with a vengeance, Shawna Lewis joining the studio. And she makes me want to do this right here. Welcome to the show, Shawna.
Hi, guys.
So, um, so I have a see kind of how this works is I say stuff and then you just agree with everything and then you tell me how awesome I am. Okay?
No.
Okay. See, now that right there is called narcissism. So that's how we lead into the show today. We're going to talk about narcissism because I can't get on any social media anymore without seeing that word plastered all over the place. So I wanted to talk about it because it seems to be everybody's favorite word right now. So I was, and I'm sure have you called somebody a narcissist this week, Shawna?
No.
Besides me?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's some progress. So the first thing I wanted to do was to just get a definition of what the dictionary says a narcissist is, and then kind of what the narcissistic personality disorder, according to the Mayo Clinic, what their definition is as well. For one, because anything called the Mayo Clinic, I really like mayonnaise. So I feel like they're going to be really accurate in their information. You don't agree with that?
No. Ew.
You see, you're already failing at pumping up my egotistical narcissism. You just haven't agreed with anything so far.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, narcissism, according to the dictionary, it means extreme self-involvement to the degree that it makes a person ignore the needs of those around them. So I get that. Totally makes sense. Shawna, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so now when you have this extremism, then you can get diagnosed. You go to the doctor and they'll say, "Yep, you got narcissistic personality disorder," which I feel like it. We'll get to that. I'm gonna talk about that. So that definition, according to the Mayo Clinic, is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. Okay, they need to seek too much attention and want people to admire them. Behind the mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their own self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. Okay, do you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about that? Do you run into people that are like that, Shawna?
Every day. But I think it's more so like we talk about this all the time. Like,
Right.
there's a lot more information being passed around. It's a lot more ideologies that's like being passed around. So,
Right.
you know, we say like, oh, well, it's this extreme idea for like self-importance, but I think, it's one of those things like everybody's kind of getting to a point like if you want to be honest, everybody's a narcissist at this point. Like they're realizing the government isn't necessarily something you can trust. You're looking at how life is being lived here in the US. So, those things like that, like you kind of got to have an extreme amount for yourself because there's got to be some certain level of protection for everything that's going on right now.
I absolutely love your answer to that because that was an angle that I hadn't even thought of when I was researching the topic. I was going to blame everything on social media and Instagram and everything about how and Snapchat about how egotistical we've all become and how we're all seeking
Definitely.
approval from everyone. We've social media has kind of turned us into narcissists. But to add to what you just said, that's a whole other angle that I didn't think of, that we're basically backed into a corner where we have no choice but to be a narcissist because we can't trust nobody else. You look at the family dynamics, we can't even keep a family together anymore. So who can you trust if you can't trust your own family?
Exactly.
So that's a good point, Shawna, and I highly agree with you on that.
I mean, I think it goes like it goes side by side when you're looking at it, even with you seeing like social media, and it's like you're seeing such a mass majority of people who are wanting like, hey, look at me, look at this attention, I want this validation, I want you to say like I'm cool or I'm this, I'm that, whatever
Right.
the title might be. But it's like, where is that longing coming from? And then you kind of have to
Right.
look at all these new terms they use. You could even say it's a trauma response because people are finding out, like, it's 2024, it's been 4 years since COVID. People kind of knew before then, some people knew in 2019, and you think about like all of these things are coming out, how so many things were lied to the public. So it's just
Right.
like a certain level of, okay, well, we're needing this to understand who we are. We need this acceptance. We want to be deemed important. We want our lives to be deemed important. And that's a lot of things. Like, we talk about it all the time, all the different arguments. Like, look at our food right now, things like that. Like, people are finding out it's never really been about health. It's been about keeping your pockets loaded for the pharmaceutical companies, things like that. So when you're
Right.
thinking about all these things, it's kind of coinciding with everything, but it has created this level of narcissism for everybody, not just certain people anymore.
Right. I highly agree with you because we're running out of people as individuals that we can really rely on to kind of suppress our own narcissistic behaviors, um, which I want to kind of go into the history of it a little bit. And I was listening to church this morning. I've got so much stuff going on that I just basically like virtually go to church now, which, which is really lazy because literally my church is like a mile down the road. So yeah, that's bad. I could walk.
For a reason. Remember that.
Yeah, I could walk to church. I just don't do it. So
Exactly.
I get
For a
yeah,
reason.
yeah,
You're not the only
that's
one.
bad.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I digitally watched church today, and so my pastor was talking about um, how he was defining, like trying to get us to see what it means to be a Christian. He said, well, the real meaning of Christianity is to be a follower of Christ. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, that's true. And then he was going on and on about, well, is anybody really following Christ? I mean, everybody's labeling themselves as a Christian, but who's really following Christ? And it made me think about it. And I'm like, you know what? When you go back to just about every message of the Bible, every message, all the way back to the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, the main objective of God is to drop your earthly wants and needs and only try to make him happy, to worship him, to connect with him. So when you really think about that, who's the ultimate narcissist? God. And that's not going to make anybody happy hearing that, but
But
it's true. Go
here's
reread the Bible, and
the
God's
thing though.
narcissist. So we're created in his image, right? So
Right.
what did he just take the narcissism out of us? Because he's a narcissist, he wants us to only give a crap about him, which I get that whole
No,
concept.
it's not true.
Yes,
That's
yes.
not true. It's not
He
just
says
only caring about him. It's not only
he
just caring
says,
about
only look out for yourself. Nobody else matters, and only care about me.
no,
Now
that's not
he doesn't You're right. He doesn't say it exactly like that.
I think it's more so you have to think about it on a level of a lot, like rid yourself of all those outside distractions to really be able to hone in on his teachings so you can focus on that, and then
But
it
Shauna,
allows
think
you.
about this. Think about this. What you just said makes complete sense. You're right. That's what he wants. He wants us to drop our narcissism to feed his narcissism.
I can't believe you saying God is a narcissist right now. I have no
I'm
words.
just saying.
I have no
I've read
words.
I've read the Bible like a dozen times, and now that I'm thinking about these things, I'm like, this is where we get it. It's in our DNA to be a narcissist. We are all narcissistic, just like you said at the beginning of the show. We're all narcissists in some kind of way about some kind of thing in our life, or you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a super narcissist. Like I'm the apex of narcissism. I
You
really
already know why I told you you're like that, but we're not even going to put that on the show. But I mean,
it's
I think
because my awesomeness is just not handled. It's not being capable normal people handling it.
it's not even that. I think it's just, you know, the time of sacrifice and things like that. Like, it's just, you see so many like the Gen Z, and they're, oh, nobody
Right.
wants to do that anymore. Nobody just wants to sit there and just sacrifice, or like, look at how they complain about the wages and the workloads. And I mean, it's all fair to feel the way that they feel and to want to fight back against it because it makes sense. Why would I want to get paid the same amount for technically more work? So, things of that nature. But it's also the point of like, the selflessness is no longer there, and I think that's what makes it almost harmful to like people, because there is no compassion at all
Right.
anymore. Everybody is so narcissistic that it's pure selfishness at this point, that they're not willing to have a lending hand anymore. And then it's just like, when you think about, like you saying, broken homes, broken communities, like we don't have communities anymore where everybody
No.
looked out for each other and helped each other out. And, you're going to have your bad apples everywhere, just like there's good, there's evil. You can't have one without the other. But it's just so selfish now. Nobody wants to do anything that doesn't benefit them, which makes it so like, oh, this is really, you're a narcissist at this point. Like, you're not even willing to budge just to help out a little bit, to even
Right.
try to empathize with somebody else.
Right. And you know how thick of walls that people will put up because of that? We won't have the ability to develop like spiritual connections with people anymore because we're so terrified of people burning us because we can't trust each other because
And it's
our own
also
narcissism has taken over.
and it's also too, it kind of goes back, like sitting right there with social media. Like
Right.
everything now, like when you see content, like you have to think like the output that it's doing. So these videos are 30 seconds long. That's it. It's quick. TikTok, they're like 57 seconds.
Right.
That's it. So you think like that
It's like
emotion.
doing a drug.
Yeah, like they like, I can't. Oh, I don't want to sit here and let this linger. Like, I'm over it. Let's move on to something new. Like, what's exciting and new this week?
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of that too, it kind of goes hand in hand with that as well, because the conditioning that's been done for them, like to sit long enough and have that attention span, isn't there either. So
I
it's
absolutely
interesting.
agree. We so not only have we turned ourselves into narcissists, but we have also given ourselves ADHD.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was just at a meeting yesterday with a gentleman that is a friend of mine, and he was like, Eric, you really can't sit still, can you? Because my legs were going. I'm like, I told him, I was like, nah, this is impossible. You've got me sitting in one spot for way too long. I can't do this. Yes. I need to get up and go do something.
Yeah.
I'm not stimulated anymore. I'm ready to go.
That's also the old person in you too, because y'all are doing stuff all the time. Like, the whole notion of if there's daylight out, then we should be doing something, not just sitting around. So that's also that too.
You should see my yard. It looks like a golf course.
Oh my God. All that working in the rain tonight.
Hey, it still looks like a golf course, even though it rained all day. I'm just saying the miraculousness of my yard, because I did it. See, I'm turned into a narcissist again. I'm really good at it.
Most men are.
Did you know I scored 5 touchdowns in one game one time?
Oh my goodness. Here we go.
It's true story.
Let me tell you about my old football highlights.
Yeah, now living in the past because I don't have any future, so I got to pull my narcissism from the past.
You're right, you don't, because now you got to work until you die. Because
no, I'm not doing that. I'm like Peter Pan. I'm always going to be a little boy and have fun.
This is okay. Sure. All right.
Or I'm going to be Captain Hook. I haven't decided, because he is a pirate and I really like pirates.
I think we also have to think that maybe Captain Hook wasn't as bad as we all thought he was, because Peter did cut off his hand and feed it to the crocodile. So you have to understand a certain level of him being upset.
Right. Peter Pan was also kidnapping kids out of their bedroom. So that's problem number 2. Maybe we need to think a different way about Peter Pan.
Definitely.
He was a human trafficker.
This is where it's happening too. All of our childhood has been ruined. I know. By the conspiracy theorists. They've ruined everything.
But they're right.
Children. Our entire childhood, we're finding out it was a complete lie. Because
I'm just wait. All the conspiracy theorists are turning out to be right. So pretty soon we're going to find out that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the smartest person that ever lived. All her conspiracy theories are going to come true.
I can't. They've taken everything from us. So it's now or never. We're putting our foot down.
Yeah. So it's official. Captain Hook is actually a good guy.
Going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, one of the conspiracy theorists, it was saying like Captain Hook was trying to stop Peter Pan from stealing the children, but they paid him to be the bad guy. So, it was funny. I was like, I have to get off of this. I'll spend hours.
Good
for my mental.
I definitely think that the story, maybe that's not how the intention of the story was to be written, but that's how it ended up. And then you start thinking about the psychology behind, because back when Peter Pan was created, there was we didn't know that much about how the brain worked. Now that we do, we're like, whoa, Peter Pan kind of has some issues going on here.
You know what?
And Captain Hook's just cool. Oh. And then you just quit on me just like that. Let's see how it is. Okay, Shawna. So just to continue on until she jumps back in, narcissism's real. It is a real thing, and there's a lot of people that do suffer from narcissism, and I have to be conscious of my own narcissistic behavior, because I do understand that sometimes I will come across as that I don't care about people's feelings, that I'm inconsiderate towards people's feelings. And that's actually not the case. So I just want to, hey, it's Shawna, he's back.
Yeah, my thing cut off. My computer died.
So I was just getting, yeah, that's all right. I was just getting real for a minute and going in and talking about how, like narcissist is a real thing, and it's becoming more vast, it's widespread. and we need to be a little bit more compassionate towards that because, not to throw people under the bus, but my whatever you want to call her, she continually tells me I'm a narcissist all the time, and it's to the point where I'm so narcissistic that the words don't even affect me. So, but there are people that those words do affect because for me, words are not tangible. If you call me a narcissist can't reach out and smack me in the face. It can't grab a knife and stab me. So it's just an ideal, an idea, or whatever you want to call it, that poofs in your brain and creates a quick stimulation. But you know what? As quick as it came, that's as quick as I can make it leave. So when people call me names and stuff, that doesn't really bother me all that much because they're not tangible things, and it doesn't matter. The saying "sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt me." That's where that comes from because words are not tangible. You can't hurt me with a word. I have really thick skin, and I'm a huge narcissist. I also have Napoleon syndrome, so I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof too. So bring your best. You're gonna need it. Just saying.
I think I have someone who also does the same thing that likes to call people narcissist all the time, and I think
It's become
now
overused, hasn't it? That word is so overused.
I think the problem is that everybody wants everything has to have a label in order to make sense, because once again
Right.
it goes back to everyone wanting this sense and belonging, and it's just like, oh, like all the new verbiage is very interesting to me, and oh, using proper pronouns and all of this stuff, and oh, it's very hard. I feel like it's just miserable. Everybody just it's just I want you to be miserable with me. So we're going to come up with all these new terms. I'm going to throw
Right.
them at you so that way you can feel just as crappy as me,
Right.
and we're both just gonna, misery loves company type of thing. And I feel like I'm a very big person on everybody should be allowed to live life the way they see fit, as long as they're not harming themselves or anyone else. That's just the way I believe in it. But I think when like where do we start drawing the line with all of these things? Where do we start saying, okay, this is just pure narcissism and you're not even trying to work past it or do better, or even if you're unaware, once somebody has expressed it to you, where do we go from there? Like, how do we
Well,
move past
I
that?
can tell you this for people who have issues, Shauna, like it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror. It's a difficult thing to do because not everybody wants to be honest with themselves. So you're not going to be able to be honest with other people if you cannot be honest with yourself. And that's just self-identifying that hey, I may behave like this. I may think this
Mm-hmm.
way, and I need to be conscious of how those things affect me and how they affect other people. And in order to continue to be a productive person, I can't be productive if I'm not addressing my issues. I can't make people like me if I'm behaving and just masking these issues that I have because people aren't stupid. They see through stuff. So, it does tend to affect you. So if you're not going to be honest with yourself, then you might as well just not go out in public because people are not going to want to deal with it. Yeah,
I
like you said,
mean,
yeah, you got to make improvements.
I think everybody should. I think everybody should be allowed to create like peace for themselves in life. I think everybody should
Right,
create that, whatever that looks like for you. If you're a
right,
narcissist and it's just like you got to have a shrine room of yourself and you go in there every day and it's just like, basking in the gloriousness of me, for a second, then you go out and do your day-to-day things, I think, sure, why not? Like, you're not harming anybody. It boosts you. Go about your day. I just think, it just has to, I think, it just getting into the point of more so, why do I have to feed that to you?
Right.
Like, as a person that just is a standby, just someone that you might happen to walk across the street. Like, why do I have to feed your narcissism? Like, everybody has it, but why do I have to feed it? Like,
Right. So if everyone's a narcissist, right? And it's evident we're narcissistic about something. So if you're a narcissist cannot call another person a narcissist because it doesn't carry any weight. So, maybe that's like a ideology that we all need to just scrap and say, okay, this isn't going to work. Calling people narcissists all the time. And it's always at a breakup. It's always when somebody breaks up with somebody. I just saw it on Facebook today where somebody must have got dumped and the dude was automatically a narcissist. Guess what? You're on Facebook telling everyone that your dude is a narcissist so you can get some victim attention, which makes you a narcissist. So it goes full circle.
It does.
So for me, narcissism means nothing because we all have it. And society, like you said earlier, Shawna, like society has forced us into that. I don't think it was vastly a thing until probably around COVID, like you said. It made it worse because we're all sitting around. We don't have our little receptors because we're all locked down. And so we turned into social media, junkies, where we're just trying to absorb it all in. Everybody pay attention to what I'm doing over here. Pay attention to me because you can't go to school. You can't go to your job. You can't, hang out with your people and get your little bit of, receptor food for the day. So
I think the whole thing is that the big term that if we're going to adopt new ideology in new terms, I think mental health is a very big one. Like, everybody jokes about it, like, oh, when I work at Starbucks and everybody's like, oh, mental health day. Like, I have, like, that's a real thing for us. Like, we can call them and say, hey, I'm taking a day. I need a mental health day just to unwind and not be at work today. And they allow
that's because Starbucks is in Seattle.
Oh, hush. But the whole point being is, like, I think that's a real thing. We saw the proposal that Bernie Sanders was saying we should only be working 4 days a week and still being able to get the pay for the 5 days a week that people typically work. I think it's one of those.
You see my eyes blinking? You see my eyes blinking right there? That's how smart Bernie Sanders is. He's the only multimillionaire that doesn't understand how corporations work, and he has a corporation. Anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, like, obviously that wouldn't work, but I'm just saying, like, mental health is real. The things that you're seeing on social media, how aggressive and outlandish they are, like people licking ice cream inside of a grocery store. Why would we do that? Like, let's talk about the mental health aspect of this. Like, what is really allowing these people to feel like these such extreme measures that they're doing and putting it on social media? Like, why do we feel that way? Why are we feeling the need to do these things?
Why does Ariana Grande lick donuts?
I'm so over you. But it's, getting past the narcissism of it all, you have to look at a person's mental health. It's all very
no, you have a point.
It's you've done psychology, so you know it better than I do. But it's interesting. You looking at all
self-identification. It's all about self-identification. If you're not going to self-identify, then you're not doing any good for yourself, and which is narcissistic. But at the same time, you have to help yourself. You have to put some work into yourself. If you're not going to, you're just ignoring issues. you're never going to move forward productively. You're
Is it
never going to be able to
narcissistic though?
maintain anything.
Is it
What?
narcissistic though? I was like, is it narcissistic
It
though?
is.
Like, think
It
about
is.
it. Like, is it? Could we just say that it's just
Self-care.
the nature of
Yeah. Self-care
humans?
is
Like, we
narcissistic.
need. Okay.
It is. It is. Hypothetically, it is. But
Okay,
you have
that's a
to
good
do
point.
it. You have to do it. You have to do it.
I mean, yeah. Like as a human being, you need it.
You can still be a narcissist about things. I don't believe that like most people are not overall narcissistic, where all they care about is how do I get what I need to get out of everything in life. I don't believe that the majority of the people are like that. I think that's a rare case where somebody is like that. I think what people are is they're narcissists about certain things. I am about my stature in life. Like I'm the boss at work. I do my own podcast, so I'm the boss of my podcast. I write my own books, so I say whatever I want. So I tend to have like, it's just like Tom McDonald's new song. I don't know if you know who Tom McDonald is, but his new song's called God Mode. And like, so I tend to like get into God mode sometimes, because in my world, I'm pretty much at the top of everything. So I have to remind myself a lot of times, like, hey, this world is bigger than the play that's going on in my head. And there's other actors and there's other plays going on all over the world outside of my little play that's going on inside my head. So I have to remind myself that even though I have, these issues mentally going on, that there's also other things going on that kind of downplay what I'm doing. So I have to remember that sometimes, that I'm not the greatest thing that ever lived. And I know I'm not, but I tend to live life like I am. And that's, we can call that several different things. Like we talk about it all the time at work. That could be a white privilege thing. It could be
I think that's a everybody thing though. Like, you want to,
it could be.
I think, well, here's the thing. It's, what do you want to get out of life? You wanting to lead your life like you're the greatest thing that's walked on earth. Be that as it may, it might be narcissistic, but that's still how you want to lead your life. Like, that's how you're going to get fulfillment for yourself. So I think, it is.
I want to be like Donald Trump.
Here you go. Here you go.
I want to be on TV and say whatever I want.
Oh, God.
Like Joe Rogan.
Oh, my gosh. See, this is the problem. Like, Trump has made white men feel that they could just be, y'all already felt like untouchable. Now you just feel like you can just say whatever comes to mind.
Like yesterday it was funny. He was holding up like a stack of papers and he was like reading through them. He's like, yeah, this news reporter said this, but he's a loser. No, this news reporter, he said this, but we all know he's a loser too. And like, yes, I want to be that. But then I got to realize, like, it's not, quite. There are better ways to handle things than to just call it, just to give me $1 billion and let me just call people out all day. I will go nuts with it. So I probably outdo Donald Trump. So
someone more hated, I think you could definitely outdo him for sure.
I know I could outdo Trump. You put a TV camera in front of my face and watch what kind of ridiculousness comes out of my mouth.
Let's stick to the podcast for now.
Yeah. But even though it's still my podcast, I can say whatever I want. But I have to be nice sometimes because I want my viewers to like me, because I'm a narcissist.
That's going to be your word for the rest of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Narcissist. Or awesome.
Let's teach positivity.
That's right. Positivity. So we're going to end the show today, but we're going to end it on a positive note. I want everybody to make sure everyone's being safe out there. I keep, like, over the weekend, there were so many violent things that happened. I want everybody to make sure you're watching your surroundings when you're out in public. Pay attention to what your children are doing. Know where your children are at, for one. If you got a middle school to high school age kid, know where your kid's at. Don't let them just run around. Be kind to each other. That's the biggest thing. It don't matter what religion, what race you are, what ethnic group you belong to. Be kind to each other. Things don't have to get worse. They can get better, and we all need to do our part to make life better for each and every one of us. So that's all I've got today. Shawna, thank you for tuning in and giving your expertise. I gained a lot out of that. I hope everybody else does too. Until Wednesday, we'll get back on some political stuff, and you'll get to hear me say lots of bad words and talk about how awesome I am. But I'll catch you all later. Bye.